I would like to thank the organizers for this space, for having the opportunity to share with you what is our perspectives. I would like to compliment Minister Zimler, Mr. Noronha, Mr. Figueiredo, and ladies and gentlemen. The short message here is that if we can say that countries have bad problems and good problems, Brazil has good problems. The challenge that we are facing now, and they are on the way to be addressed, are the challenges of one expression that I will repeat along my 15, 20 minutes talk, which is uneven, unbalanced growth. Any country in history that when goes into a trajectory of growth, it's never a nirvana type of growth that everything is smooth. It's unbalanced, it's full attention, and a key to success is it's not only government, but if the society and our partners from abroad negotiate and manage the tensions arising from unbalanced growth. But it's a good problem, yeah? Okay, I'll go fast because the ambassador already gave me, already put the things in perspective. This is the past, yes? Our past was, our economic horizon was here. And now, if I can use my hands as a message, our economic horizon is moving away from our eyes, relatively to other regions of the world where the economic horizon is shortening. Yes? So in a context where the economic horizon is short, no investment, no infrastructure. So now, we had 25 years. It took us 12 years to stop the bleeding of volatility and price and so on, until 94, the Plano Real. And it took us another 12 years with price stability for investment to start growing ahead of GDP. The sign that we are on the way to sustain growth is when the investment rate grows ahead of GDP rate. So this is, and this has been happening since 2005. And you see that in the cloud, the cost of 25 years, a quarter of a century. It's not short. There is this expression in English that when things are not, you have to wheel the wheel, because there is sand on the wheel, the problems of inefficient and so on. The problem in Brazil is not sand on the wheel. The problem is, where is the wheel? We are having to reinvent the wheel of setting up a machine of growth, because the model that we had in the 70s and the 80s, or early 80s, it's not useful anymore. It's another political regime, another international context, and now we have democracy, we have open economies, we have information technology, we have advance of technical progress, and so on. So this is, I put this up construction. It's steady consolidation. It's not reconstruction, it's up construction. I'm sorry for abusing of the English language here. One of the issues, and Bernardo Figueiredo is probably a person that can tell you more, is that one of the prices that we're paying is that during these 25 years, the state lost its capacity to do things effectively. I'm not saying big state, small state. It's the effectiveness to accomplish the mandates that is given by society to the state. Business sector is slowly unwinding. Their agenda of innovation is just emerging, and this is a must. And we had a basic financial capability because of BNDES, but too much BNDES dependence. Now, in circle that are the Chinese from outer space. Yeah, because the Chinese are so efficient, everything there works. It's not only because there is a society organized in certain rules and institutional arrangements, but also because they have been growing for the past 30 years. Accumulated growth makes a difference. Ambassador mentioned the PAC, this program, is 2007. It's only 5 years. And behind that, there was 25 years of no. So you have to take into consideration that the Chinese are not from outer space. The world, and I think that here I'm going very quick with the last bullet there. It says, the best that we can wish for is slow growth and a calm slow growth. This is the best scenario. Yes? Fierce competition, world going on different directions, but some interesting phenomenon. The economic inclusion, that is a phenomenon in Brazil, the economic inclusion, imagine the economic inclusion that is going on in Mexico, in Indonesia, in China, in India. Yeah? So the markets, the notion of markets is changing radically. Technical change accelerating, climate change, and state activism. I know that at this moment in this country there is a strong debate over the issue, but if you look around, the state is reinventing itself, and there is no role model. Okay, this is Brazil. I'm proposing, maybe I'm risking too much. Yeah, maybe I'm putting it as a question. Is an emerging model on the way? And the emerging model is composed of these 5 bullets that is there. The first one is democracy and institutional strength. Yeah, that is the basis upon which people choose and give mandate for priorities, and the other one that people have confidence that things will move. The second, and the ambassador was mentioned what President Rousseff last week was saying, the economic stability anchored by a stronger economic policy. The expanding internal market, probably you know well. The advantage that we have in the foreign markets, they say that the iron ore, the Chinese are stopping, but the consumption for protein, for food, given the economic inclusion that is going on, and the advantage that our country can provide, can contribute to provide food, energy, and if we are good, biodiversity security for the world. Yeah, this is not little. The other one is the investment frontier. And Graciela, can you please, on the third yellow thing there, can you click on that? No. Oops. Now, I want to show you, BNDES keeps a post on investment prospects, looking, and this is the one. So this is the investment prospects. The first column is 2008, 2011, and it's what happened. And what we're seeing ahead, 2013, 2016. The third column there is the difference between A and B, and the last column is the implicit rate of growth between 2013 and 2016 for all the sectors. So we have, the first period, we have 600 billion of investment going on. In the coming years, 800. It's a 6% year growth. Look at the infrastructure. Look at the rates of growth. Bernard, you're going to have some work ahead. 24% of growth a year for railways, roads, 10% for roads, 15% for ports, 30% for airports. I'm just highlighting here the infrastructure. If you take the oil and gas, we still go on, yeah? 9% of annual growth. So the investment frontier, okay, can we go back, Graziano? So the investment frontier in Brazil is vast and attractive and with good return, yeah? We have the model of modicidade tarifária. I don't know if we can translate that to tariff modicity. Whoever gives the lower tariff in a concession. We have the action, which is the government programs started with PAC, and now the last one of the concessions, which is the return of the phoenix of having. I saw a picture of Juscelino Kubitschek, which is the president of Brazil in the late 50s, early 60s, that set the Plano de Metas, which was one landmark of in the industrialization process in Brazil. And there was a picture of him with a list, and people think that this was a plan, everything very organized, but it was a picture with a list of projects, yes? So basically, they were able to compile a list of projects and move them. And I thought that was very symbolic in the way that we did PAC, now we're doing more sophisticated. The concession on the logistics is a completely different model, much more sophisticated. It was a list. You know, in 2007, there was, pile up what is possible to organize to have infrastructure leading the way. And then financing. Not only BNDES was its strength in terms of our funding, we triple our assets. We have 300 billion assets, and our loans a year is around 80 billion in 4 years. But infrastructure, out of this $80 billion that we loan every year, 30 billion is for infrastructure. It is growing around 20 to 25% a year. And our pipeline of projects in infrastructure, the pipeline, not contracted yet, is of something around 70 billion US out of projects that will mean something like 130 billion of investments. So my pipeline, in my institution, 130 billion of projects that are there, on the way. Yes? So, and the last one is more interesting. Very rare in societies there are consensus, especially in democratic societies. But recently, from left to right, from orthodox to heterodox, from old to young, and black and white and whatever, live in the north and the south, there is a rare consensus in the society that investment should push our process of growth, and infrastructure. So there is this consensus going on. This is a very interesting process where you can try to mitigate the challenges of unbalanced growth. The policy framework. The first set of bullets there, it's the short term, and the below is the long term. The government has shown this year a very acute, very precise sense of the short-term needs, and there was cost cuts, yes, from indirect labor costs, the energy, the interest rates for BNDES, to the long term, which is the investment-driven, the projects, and especially the last bullet there, the tax incentives for investment in infrastructure funds, especially for individuals and for foreign investors. And if you see, it's difficult to take off, but since 2003 to 2012, investments in Brazil in infrastructure, they triple. Yeah? It's still insufficient, and probably most of you have been through the airports in Brazil, and you know the quality of the infrastructure that we have, but it is on the way, yes? The first that was more, that was a point of attention was the oil and gas and the electricity. So this is a sign that there is an increasing effectiveness on the part of government policies. This is the map of the future, yes? And I think that we are going through a phase, and this will be on probably for the next 10 years or so. We're going to be on a trajectory that is different from our past. In the past, especially in the old import substitution models, there was this push process. Now the trajectory of government of Brazil will be demand-driven, which makes more sense from economics. Yeah? Demand-driven and policy-induced development. The internal market agenda is the mass consumption to serve the aspirations of the emerging middle class. And the external market, I already mentioned to you the commodities for the inclusion of managed. And the infrastructure comes in both sides. Yes, the infrastructure is a much needed resource for the internal market agenda and for the external market, but also a source of demand in itself. Yes? So the infrastructure plays this interesting and very dynamic role in pulling this demand-driven policy-induced. And the government has the capacity to adapt plans, regulations, and financial modes to society needs and aspirations. And what has been done in terms of the changes, imagine what we have done in terms of the airports recently, shows that the reading of the needs and aspirations, there is a correct needing and a flexibility to adapt. So in terms of planning, we're moving towards strengthening our capacity. The agency that was set up that Figueiredo runs is a key agency, as similar as the agency EPE that plans for the energy sector. Now we have the arm for the logistics. Regulation, it is evolving. There are changes, adaptations, but there is the welfare and there is the investment security as anchor of regulation adaptation and financing. BNDES is there, BNDES will be there, but private sector must crowd in. This is one of the challenges, and my last slide is coming up, that we have. Usually people say that development banks, they crowd out the private sector. In Brazil, it's at this moment of our history, it's not a challenge of crowd out. It's the challenge of crowding in. It's different. And for doing that, BNDES has, I said that it tripled assets and disbursements. But since 2010, we stabilized our loan, our size, in order to demonstrate that it's for firm that we must have the private sector in. And this is the last slide. There are important challenges, not minor, which is associated with unbalanced growth. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Kaizen. Kaizen is continuous improvement. It's the Japanese word that the Toyota and all that, when their factory, the efficiency on the factory was high. Institutions, we must keep on improving them all the time. There is no end for that. The second is efficiency. Efficiency. One of the biggest challenges that we have is to have more productivity within the firms, around the production chains, in government, in my house, in my behavior. Efficiency is a challenge that we have, especially when we're going through a demographic change, that the labor market, people entering labor markets decreasing, so the costs of our labor input will be increasing, so we must be efficient. Third, behind efficiency is competence. Skills of labor force, innovation capacity of firms, the competence of the state to be more efficient. So competence of all. The fourth is savings, especially local savings. We learned in the 80s, late 70s and 80s, that to depend on foreign capital exclusively is a huge danger. So we must rely on local savings. We must rely on foreign investors doing operations in real, we must have long-term financing, and this is an area of much learning, and this country has a lot to contribute to Brazil. And infrastructure, we need infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. So, as I said before, it's not an issue of government only, but if the society manages well the tensions arising from unbalanced growth, then we'll be okay. It's a challenge. And I think that this challenge is for everyone that in Brazil and everyone that is interested in Brazil. Thank you.